I was on your website and I noticed that
Mm-hmm.
it said, obviously, that you've had years as a successful athlete yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to kind of, get to know you more and have you maybe elaborate more on that. So if the fans and
Yeah,
viewers may not know.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, in essence, the way most people think of sports and the world of participating, you have the American way of seeing it, man. You have the okay, you went to grade school, middle school, you play the sports here, you go to the. I mean, this is a feeder system, right? You go from this to this to this to this. You're in college, and then maybe pro if you're lucky. Okay. Um, I've been traveling around the world since I was born. I was on the first kindergarten rugby league in Christchurch, New Zealand. I've participated in martial arts my whole life through actual family tradition of understanding things. Like quite a bit different than going to a place and giving them money. I never had to pay for training, and I've never been trained in that way. Do you see now what I mean? And so being 5'2", 100 and nothing, for me to even compete in the Western level of sports, which I did, I played for football for Dewey Sullivan, the most winningest coach in Oregon history, but I'm not a name dropper. I wrestled for Emery Blackwell, one of the best wrestling coaches in Oregon history, but again, he never even wrestled. So you tell me how I know how to teach MMA stuff and not do MMA if I had a wrestling coach that never wrestled, but produced tons of state champions, tons of badasses. How do you do that? Might be bigger than just the moves, and he might actually groom leadership in the room to allow the athletes to teach. Okay, so then you do every sport because in my life, I didn't have an easy, good home life to come home to. So all my opportunity to stay out of the house meant I have to play a sport. That is my only option. And if I want to stay out of the house a little longer, we better go to state. We better make it a little bit farther. We better get another 2-3 weeks out of this thing. That's what I'm praying for, right? So when you've thrown yourself into the situation where you're in team sports, you're in these things, the only thing where size didn't really matter was wrestling. When the time period was that I was wrestling, I was a very, traumatized young person. So in reality, instead of wrestling the way that I would as a conscious person today, no, man, I was taking out my aggression on people that came into that space because that was an only space I was allowed to let out some real aggression. So when we're talking about athleticism and these things like, yeah, man, like it's not the same thing to just talk about, oh, I pinned so many people, I did this, I did that. To me, it's yeah, obviously I could have pinned more people if I was just not an angry kid and accidentally break a kid's back at Reno Tournament of Champions because I'm looking to try to get a scholarship and I'm scared I don't want to go home. So is it really fair for me to perpetuate more of that in society? Or maybe there's a reason why I'm keeping my mouth shut about real things. Maybe there's a reason why my life is dedicated and showing the light of what I am instead of showing some of that other thing that other people then worship, follow, and continue to do. And so by taking an actual legitimate, responsible decision on what I put out on the internet is why a lot of people are lost. And if you were the one that needed to know what I know and what abilities I have, you would give me time and energy and I would let you feel and know. And that is what this man gave me, hence why I give him back the only true commodities in life, which is time and energy. And this is why you're seeing the rewards. You cannot buy this information. It doesn't work that way. It's an investment into yourself. And as you invest in yourself, as like I had to survive, you end up getting different rewards and abilities. So the biggest thing is most people are not working with what they got. Most of us want to be something we're not. And because of that, we never learn how to deal with what we have. Now, truth
Yeah.
truth is I'm 5 foot nothing. I've been about the same size since I was like 12 years old. Now, let's say you're a basketball player and a tall person, right?
Yep.
Now we're at the same age. but that person's body after 11 years old is continuously growing. So at 11 years old, I'm doing something and the calculation is getting very tight. Does that make sense? I'm learning that I can do this. I know I can do it. I trust myself. I believe myself. The same kid that's growing constantly through the rest of high school, right? They go to take that basketball shot. Now, one day they've calibrated it, boom. The next day, next month, they grow. The calibration's off. And now we're dealing with a lot of weird issues of self-esteem, fear, anxiety, self-doubt. Now we might understand how I understand a little bit more about it since I've been able to be in my body a little longer than most people. Does that make sense? And that longer period of time in all of these things all around the world, not in one culture, one space, one place, constantly proving who I am, always being somebody in the room, that's how I know who I am.